What is going on, you guys? We got a tournament regulations dropped for X-Wing 2.0 today. This is actually the first X-Wing tournament regulations effective October 1st, 2018. It's currently October 3rd, so effective immediately. A lot of this is pretty standard stuff, but there are a few really interesting changes, some quite significant. Most notably, the death of fortressing officially, which is interesting, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But yes, so this is we're gonna kind of talk about it. I will also put a link to the official document in the description below, and also on Crabbok.com. But I am going to just kind of run through some of this stuff. One really interesting note in here is that there's no more, you're not allowed to have a single ship build, which I think some people who were looking at this initially didn't catch on to right away. It says that a legal list will have between 2 and 8 ships of a single faction, which is very interesting. Also, while a single faction may not sound like much, there have been a lot of people asking, like, hey, can I still run the Resistance with the good guys with the good guys? Can the Resistance still run with the Rebels? And quite simply, no, they cannot. That's why they're their own faction now. But now, granted, you can always, in theory, run some kind of specialty house rules tournament or something like that, where you allow mixed faction lists and everything. So that the game's open-ended enough that you can always do stuff like that for fun, and I think that could be fun. But for tournament rules, of course not. And league rules and any official sanctioned play, the factions are designed to run independently of any other faction. But yeah, no single ship rule. Like the fact that granted, every list is probably going to have at least 2 ships anyway, but it kind of limits the design space a little bit, in that if they came out with like a really larger, more powerful ships, or maybe more expensive crew, maybe you wanted to run, just a Dash Rendar with like really expensive upgrades and nothing else. Now it's illegal to do that. Granted, maybe that wouldn't be in the best taste, because you'd be like, oh, I blew up one ship and now I'm just going to fly away, or the rest, you could be kind of cheesy like that, and that's not really the best way to be a good sport. But if you legitimately wanted to do that, not to be cheesy, but just for thematics or whatever, suppose enough upgrades come out that get you a single ship to be close to 200 points, at least as of today, that would not be legal. Granted, if they come up with like 180 point ship someday, they can always just turn around and change the tournament regulation and allow for 1 to 8 ships, or 1 to 9 ships if cheaper ships end up coming out. Because why not? Let's see what else is there. We've got some other things that we want to talk about. You can actually mix and match ships and ship dials if they're identical named ships. So let's see, the old example, similar to X-Wing 1.0, if I've got a Y-Wing that's scum, but I want to run another Y-Wing, I want to put that Y-Wing's miniature into the Rebels, I can use that Y-Wing miniature, no problem. If I want to use that Y-Wing's dial onto a Rebel Y-Wing, I can do that because they're identical named. But you can't do that for all Millennium Falcons, for example, because they're not all exactly the same. They're modified. The names are slightly different, and that's important also because the maneuver dials are different in those cases. Now, granted, I don't think anybody's going to really complain if you use Lando's Falcon in place of Han's Falcon as just the miniature, but technically that's still against the rules. So that's interesting. Also, shields is another thing they talk about. And I think they had to allow this because there weren't enough shields, in the conversion kit. There weren't any shields in the conversion kits, so a lot of people playing now are might not have enough shield tokens to run the lists they want to run. So they're saying, oh, you can use anything for shields. You can use 1.0 shields. You just have to clearly mark which side is the spent side and which side is the exhausted side. So it's going to require, if you want to use your 1.0 shields, you'll have to mark like the bottom of them or something like that, so it's clear. And it should be clear is the thing. And a lot of stuff is left up to tournament TOs and judges, and that's honestly, we kind of expected that. So what some other things is now you notice that there are ship IDs in X-Wing 2.0. It is clarified that those must be used. You have to use a unique ship ID on every single ship that you are flying. You can't just run them without the ship IDs, which is really frustrating, in my opinion, because I don't like having to do that. But I have to now, so screw it. I guess I'll always have to do that. It's annoying. Those numbers also do have to match up to their target locks, so that's something that's going on right now. So and that's the purpose of them. I get that. That's why they have the target locks. I just don't like being forced to have a unique ship ID on there. The reason I don't like that is because we have different cardboard. So what is the reason to have a unique cardboard insert for every single pilot imaginable if I'm also going to have to mark each one with a number and pair that to my card? That's annoying to me. It's really annoying. Not a big fan of that. It wasn't thought out well enough. There should just be X-Wing ship base and TIE Fighter ship base and TIE Advanced ship base. I shouldn't need a separate cardboard insert for Darth Vader and Merrick Steele and everybody else. That's frustrating for me, especially when this is going to be a mandatory rule that I have to use an insert, an extra thing to mark it. It's completely dumb, because I could just as easily say, like in Armada or any other game in history, I could just say, oh, well, number 6 is Darth Vader and number 5 is Merrick Steele, and you can see that here on my card. It's as simple as that. Anyway, rant is over. Frustrated with that. An interesting thing a lot of you guys brought up is the VCX does not accommodate the turret markers because its base is way too big, and they did say the 1.0 VCX, so that does certainly kind of hint that the new VCX in 2.0 will be redesigned, will have a different base to probably accommodate turrets properly, which so I'm kind of looking forward to that. I think that'll be fun. But yeah, so the VCX for 1.0, what they've said is you just use a small turret arc and place it in the place where it's supposed to go. And that's, I have kind of said that all along. I think a lot of people who are just, if you just sat down and thought about it, that's fine. It's sloppy. It's an inelegant solution, but it is what it is. Honestly, I'm feeling more and more like 2.0 was rushed, tremendously rushed, not thoroughly thought out well enough. And we're seeing so many little things like this. We're like, it shouldn't have been this way. Shouldn't have been this way, but oh well. It's not the end of the world. The game's still fun, so it's not like this ruins the game. It's just like, you guys, FFG usually does better. However, I'm okay with it. It is what it is. Let's talk about fortressing. So what is fortressing, if you're not familiar? Fortressing this is just one example of fortressing I have in the picture here. Fortressing is basically where you're making your ships intentionally not move by bumping. And the problem is, it's fine to intentionally not move from time to time, but if that is your strategy, it's seen as unsportsmanlike. It's seen as creating a negative play experience, and you're not really playing the game. And at its core, it's an exploit. Bumping is meant to be like a momentary stoppage where we can't quite make that maneuver. It's never meant for you to just stand still the entire game. That's one of the reasons why those zero-speed maneuvers are red maneuvers, because you're not meant to stand still. This is a dogfighting game. Nobody just stands still in a dogfighting game. You're not supposed to do that permanently. And so there are, this started early in 1.0 with Millennium Falcons that would just go up against each other and use their turrets. So they would just create like this kill zone in the middle of the map, and there was no way to dodge it. Well, the same thing is potentially possible in 2.0, although that turrets are a little bit better now, so it's harder to do that. You could do this with VCX or YV666s, rather. You could do that, and then you have that big 180 arc. You can still get an awful lot of coverage that way. But it's just something that's kind of seen in poor taste, and I'm just surprised that they made it straight up illegal. So the way that the rule works is that if your ships don't move for more than 2 turns in a row, a judge can come by and basically blow up your ships and just I mean, they're supposed to give you a warning, say like you need to move, and then if 2 more turns don't go by and you don't comply, then the TO or the judge can just be like, all right, well, your ships are all destroyed. They have to warn you, and it's all written up. And again, I'll link the tournament regulations in the description below. But that's interesting. I've done a little bit of fortressing, but not that much. One time I had set up a line of TIE fighters in my deployment zone, all of them going left, and the one at the very, very end going right. And so they all just kind of stayed there for like 2 or 3 turns until my opponent got closer, and then they all turned out. That wasn't my entire strategy. My entire strategy for that day was to come up with unique different deployments for every match of the tournament, because I ran like an 8 TIE swarm with no upgrades just for fun. And I did all kinds of different things. I did one where they fanned out like this and they all went different ways, which is not typical of a TIE fighter. I did one where they were all going crisscross, like a checkerboard pattern. That one was kind of fun. And then I did one where one was going one way, and so I tried the fortress thing. I don't think that was an example of a negative play experience, because it wasn't my entire strategy. It wasn't even effective, and I didn't keep it going for the whole game. I just did it, just to start out, just to kind of slow down and then to break off. So trying something different. But there are folks who will make an entire strategy out of something like that, and I think that can create a negative play experience. I have played against a couple of fortress builds. There's different ways to do it. There was also ways with lambdas, where you would have one lambda in the front do a hard stop, and somebody else would take his stress away that was behind him. They would bump into him, and you would set up in the corner so that your field of fire is covering virtually everything. I even did a video, I think a long time ago, on like cheese strategies, and even back then I said, like, this is cheesy. I'm not saying you should totally do it, but if you're bored with the game and want to try something different, it's something you can try. Bottom line is it's not legal anymore. So while I don't think it was something that was running rampant, I suspect that there are probably some new things planned that would potentially get worse and out of control if fortressing were sanctioned or permitted or allowed. That's my rough prediction. So I think they're trying to prevent a future negative play experience mechanic by making it illegal now, so that when other things come out, that it doesn't break the game. But that's what I have to say about it. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think. And as always, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Don't forget to check out Crabbok.com. Hop in Discord, say hi. I want to give a big thanks to my patrons. I still got that Sato giveaway going on right there. So if you haven't checked out my Patreon yet, just go ahead and comment in there if you are interested in winning a Commander Sato promo for Armada. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.